I'd hate it. I do want to work for my living, Dada, but not cleaning someone else's house like poor Lizzie has to, just because they're too lazy to do it themselves.
Well, her father had replied, I don't think Lizzie thinks of herself as poor Lizzie, and that's not an attitude I should make known if I was you. Remember, people who can afford to employ servants provide jobs and livings for hundreds of folk who wouldn't otherwise have any work. He looked his daughter firmly in the eye. Seriously, Mabel, too many people rely on the moneyed classes for their livelihood. You won't make yourself popular with anyone if you start spouting remarks like that. I would hate to hear a daughter of mine openly expressing such ideas.
No, all right, Dada. I was only saying it to you.
So you were, agreed her father, and that's the way it must stay.
So, can I stay on for another year?
I'll discuss it with your mother and see if she agrees. Well, maybe I'll write to your teacher and see what she says. All right?
All right.
Mabel knew it was the best she could do. She, too, was well aware it would mean that she wouldn't be adding to the family income for another year. But if she learned to type, and even, perhaps, to take down shorthand, she could get a job in an office, like where Dada worked, and she would then contribute far more to the family income than if she were a live-in servant in some mansion. She would work office hours, not be at someone's beck and call all day every day. Her time outside the hours in the office would be her own. Dear Dada. She was the only person who called him that, her special name for him. Dear Dada. Surely he would say she could stay on. Wouldn't he? Now, this afternoon, Miss Chapman wanted to speak to her after school, so she must have received Dada's letter. Come back into the classroom, Mabel, Miss Chapman said, once the schoolyard was empty. Come and sit down. We should talk properly. A chair had been set ready in front of Miss Chapman's desk, and Mabel did as she was told. For a long moment, the teacher looked consideringly at the girl sitting in front of her. Mabel Oakley was one of the most intelligent of her pupils. Always well turned out, with her fair hair neatly plaited and her clothes clean and pressed. It was clear she came from a well-ordered home where pride was taken in her appearance. Mabel had an inquisitive mind, and enjoyed learning for its own sake, not something Miss Chapman could say about most of her pupils, and when she had received the letter from the girl's father, suggesting she might stay at school for one more year, Miss Chapman had been delighted. But she knew she had to tread carefully in her response. It would be no good giving Mabel ideas above her station. Mr. Oakley had said Mabel wanted to learn to type and work as a secretary. Well, thought Miss Chapman, typing would only fit her for a typing pool, not to be a secretary. Miss Chapman thought Mabel would be far better off to train as a teacher and pass on her love of learning to the next generation. But whatever lay in the girl's future, the first thing was to convince her parents that it would be a waste of her potential to keep her in elementary school for only one more year when she might be one of the lucky few who progressed to secondary education. Did it depend, she wondered, on the answers she gave the father? Was it purely a matter of whether they thought the extra year was worth it for a girl, or would the problem be a financial one? Simply, could the family afford to keep Mabel at school? One never knew. Pride would never allow such parents to admit they couldn't afford to be without the extra wage, and so they would give some other reason for her to leave as soon as she could. Now then, Mabel, she began, I've received a letter from your father. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, Miss Chapman, Mabel replied. I want to stay at school so I can get an office job when I leave.
So that was your idea, was it?
Yes, Miss Chapman. I don't want to go into service like my cousin Lizzie.
I see. And why's that?
I want to